Under new business, case number 16078, GPS Partners, for variance finding to demolish existing three-family residence, construction duplexes in 97 Atlantic Ave. The applicant and representative here.
We are. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Rob Plumbing from Plumbing & Plumbing. With me this evening are my client, Mr. Greg Shea from GPS Partners. The architect on this is Brian Donahue, and I know you guys are all familiar with Brian. And Scott Henderson is our engineer. So the property, 97 Atlantic Street in North Quincy, is a 10,890 square feet plus minus lot, located in a Residence B zoning district. Currently improved by an existing three-family residence which had suffered some severe fire damage prior to Mr. Shea's ownership of the property. He had purchased with some proposed development. We are here this evening to present that to you. So Mr. Shea is proposing to demolish the existing three-family residence and construct two duplex buildings, each building containing two townhouse units. The buildings will be 3 stories in height. Each unit will have 2 parking spaces, which will meet the ordinance. So both the height and the parking will meet the ordinance. Brian Donahue will get a little more detail of the units themselves. When Mr. Shea was considering this development, he was very conscientious on how he approached this. Looking at the neighborhood, the styles of the homes, the site itself, how he really wanted to lay this out. By trade, Mr. Shea is a home builder. Takes a lot of pride in the style and look of these properties. With the help of both Scott and Brian for layout and for aesthetics and design of these homes, we feel this proposal is considerably better, in my own opinion, to what could have been done. If you've seen, this board has seen the townhouse row houses, from front to back of the site. The site is long and could have probably supported that as well. I think what's before you this evening is a lot better design. Designed that way for layout purposes. He wanted to really minimize the impervious areas on the site. Wanted to use the existing driveway to the garages for each unit. Wanted to be able to increase the landscape he was able to do as well. So during this entire time, he's very cognizant of that fact. Certainly wanted to meet the parking as well for each unit, which we've done with this proposal. This matter has been already before the planning board site plan review, which has been completed and approved. We met with the planning board both in October and November. We finished up early November with the approval process through the planning board. Prior to starting, we had a neighborhood meeting. This was back in August, late August, with the assistance of Councilor Harris. There were probably 20, 25 people at that meeting. Met pretty good reception. I think people appreciated the site layout and the design of these proposed buildings as well. So without further ado, do you want to have questions for me specifically? Okay. So the relief we're seeking, again, I think this was designed in a way where, one of the buildings is really being placed on the existing footprint of one of the homes in that same area. The setbacks, front and rear, with the number of units, the sides setbacks increased to 25. So we are seeking some setback relief just because of that reason. The front and rear, it's really, the buildings themselves meet the setback requirement of 25 feet. It's really just those raised porches that are within that setback. Okay, so I'm going to pass it on to Brian so he can present his.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Brian Donahue. I'm the principal of Donahue at 21 McGrath Highway in Quincy. When we were approached by Mr. Shea to design 4 units for this 10,890 square foot lot, we obviously wanted to keep in keeping the contextual nature of the neighborhood, which is by nature is single, double, single-family homes, multi-family homes, residences. So there's really a good mix of scale and building types and local vernacular architecture. This is, I grew up in North Quincy, I know this area very well, so we tried to take that into consideration as opposed to building something that was appeared massive from the street and the approach to the property. So, as Rob mentioned, Mr. Fleming mentioned, we are maintaining the existing drive. Right now, there's the house is situated in this location, and there's an existing garage in the back lot, which is shown on the site plan. So the solution was to create two buildings, two 1,500 square foot unit buildings, including the garage, so that they are quite modest in scale, because we're taking into consideration, the zoning requires you to take into consideration the garage space for the FAR floor area. So each unit has a single car and then another car outside of the building. They are diametrically opposed to each other, so the living space actually looks onto the yard. And as Rob mentioned, the buildings themselves, the main building themselves, meet the setbacks in the front and rear, but the decks, which can be used for egress, and they're also somewhat of an outdoor space for the owners of the unit. So they're very straightforward, as I said, pretty modest. The first floor layout is basically an open plan with kitchen, living, dining area, house, bath, 2 bedrooms each. So they're 1,500 square foot units with 2 bedrooms and 1 bath on the second floor. So the elevations depict the east and west elevations, and then the streetscape. Again, we're trying to keep in the nature of the character of the neighborhood and make it appear as if it's almost a single-family house, albeit a larger single-family house. But at least there's not sort of this row, as Rob had mentioned, what you see a lot of people doing is creating these long blocks of 3 or 4 units. So what we tried to do is at least keep the streetscape to a certain scale. So we're using local material, local vernacular materials, shingles and plywood siding, architectural windows and shingles. So it's a fairly straightforward design. It's got some articulation to it. It's not a blank facade. So this is what you would see from the street, and this shows the context with the neighbors in terms of the distance from the houses. This would be the view from the back neighbor in the rear. A view from the side looking towards the neighbor leading out to the west. The building itself is 34 feet and change, under 35 feet. So we're building a single-family house on this level, so we can bring it to that elevation. So that is pretty much it in a nutshell. This would show you the approach from the street and the house on the streetscape, which maintains the same sort of setbacks as the houses that are there. And other than that, I'd be happy to answer questions.
Where did the guest park?
Yes? In the event of a party or just
Friend
people
comes
coming
over.
in?
You get 2 cars. Your friend comes over. Where does he park?
The driveway is such, the existing driveway is such, the width of it certainly would support, not long-term parking, but certainly temporary, parking along here without obstructing.
You already
others
have
to
1
get
over
out.
here, right?
There'll be 2 spaces here.
There's two spaces per unit. There certainly would be room along this drive to park for guests.
Noticed you had some.
It's only 12 feet wide.
The road is 12%, there's 3 feet. We could have, the road sort of swings in right now. But we could extend it to 3 feet. Granted, it would be not the easiest thing in the world to have people parking there. I don't know whose house in the neighborhood would be. Anyone who has guests over has issues with parking on lots or.
And all the way way down the end to the right in the front, is that a parking space?
These are 2 parking spaces here. There's an existing fence right now.
All right.
And landscape hedge there. So it's a pretty good screening element on that side of the house right now.
And the gentleman next door on this side too did appear at the neighborhood meeting as well. You know, nice gentleman, just had requested some things, you know, he had some questions, but, you know, kind of a border here as well.
That's what I was gonna ask, is there anything proposed for the other side?
The driveway side,
Yeah.
there'll certainly be some landscape there. I don't know what shows on the plan.
It doesn't show anything on the plan.
Nothing on that side. Certainly there is that room to do something there, if it had been requested.
Nothing on it.
Olden days.
Any questions? Yeah, wait. Any questions? Okay.
7 spaces, I think
Well, the first one's 8. The first one in the top left is 2 spaces.
Oh, that.
Yeah, so each unit has its underneath garage
They
space.
ran out of cars in the computer.
We ran out of cars. So you have 2 spaces here,
Here's my imagination.
space and space.
That's my
Yeah,
car.
so eight total spaces.
The program had 5 cars.
We probably should have put cars on each.
You have to go through the sunroof to get out.
So on the unit closest to the street, how many parking spaces are there? And then just the garage, right?
Yeah,
It's just a garage.
Okay.
And then-
one to
So,
the right lower, right here. And the next one there, this guy parks across the street.
Yeah, 1 garage space per unit.
Right.
And then a
And
second,
one
a
space
second
outside.
space,
So
pretty
each-
close to each unit.
So there are 8 spaces or 7?
8.
8.
So the required 2 per unit is met.
Any questions?
You say you were in front of planning?
Yes, we appeared before them October, November, and we completed November 9th
Okay.
with full approval
Okay.
from planning. Yeah.
And did the council have any comments?
Certainly, Councilor Harris, with his cooperation, we did have a neighborhood meeting.
Yeah.
You know, from that, he felt pretty good as well. I mean, he's obviously, as we heard Councilor Crowe speak this evening, they're very conscientious about the constituency. So, and there were more questions on, you know, people parking on Atlantic but further up from this site. You know, and this is just going to be a project that's not going to exacerbate really, you know, any of that. So those concerns were further on Atlantic.
Is that it?
We have Scott Henderson is our engineer, so he'd like to.
For the record, Scott Henderson Consulting, project engineer. I'll run through a few things, trying not to be redundant with what Brian presented. Fairly straightforward layout. We're using the existing curb cut, extending the driveway. We do have 4 exterior spaces, and then tandem garages, 1 for each unit, facing each other for the central parking area. As far as grading and drainage, the site is fairly flat. The existing condition will remain as such. The runoff from both roofs, structures will be collected and infiltrated on the ground. We did some soil testing, found some very porous gravel, so it's very conducive to high rate infiltration. Also collecting all the runoff from the entire paved surface on the site and infiltrating that underground as well. That system's been reviewed and approved by the city engineer. As far as landscaping is concerned, fairly straightforward. There's no tree removal proposed. The only real existing trees on site at the rear right corner, some sizable pine trees, those will remain untouched. The grading around them is untouched as well, so those should be perfectly placed after the redevelopment. As was noted, the abutter was concerned about maintaining the screening of the existing stockade fence here. Additionally, we'll be planting some arborvitae along that fence line to even increase that, particularly for cars pulling in to sort of block the lights that could potentially shine in that direction. And then some fairly standard sort of boxwood planting along the front of the units. For landscaping, as far as snow storage is concerned, we have ample space for snow storage, basically pushed down the driveway off the end of these parking spaces into the lawn area here, and the same for the 2 spaces located on the west side of those structures. And as I said before, with engineering reviewed and approved all the utility design, traffic engineer, Deb did review that as well. We have everything in order with her as well. So.
How many tanks do you have on that? Nothing or just gravel? Do you have tanks on that?
Yeah, we're using subsurface chambers. So we had originally designed this making assumptions about the drainage, and the actual soil testing indicated that the soils were even better than anticipated. So on this plan, we have 14 chambers total. We're going to be able to whittle those down to about 10. The infiltration rate could not be any better.
So interesting to hear.
Yeah, really. Why are you making it small? Take the neighbors too. Any questions?
I have none.
Is that it, Council?
It is. Thank you.
Is there anyone that wants to speak in favor? Speak in favor? First call, second call, third call, closed, correspondence. A letter here for the DPW, we reviewed the above referenced project and have no comments. Is there anyone opposed or undecided? Opposed or undecided? Second call, third call. Call it out of the hearing closed. They want 4 units, same size lot as we just had, just so you know. All right?
Except these are all 2 bedrooms.
2 bedrooms, right. I'm just saying, the 2 bedrooms are small, but, and he had 8 pockets, 9 parking spaces, for 3 units, and he's got 8 for 4.
Construction.
I just don't know where a guest is gonna park. There's no place to put parking on that lot at all.
If you look at that drive as well,
The driveway's 12 foot wide. How do you
you
get
know,
to-
as far as, trying to expand that maybe a little bit, increasing that, that might be able to. That will certainly be temporary.
If I may,
Yeah.
functionally we could widen the driveway here on the right side at maybe 2 feet. Your typical car width is about 6 to 6.5 feet.
Right.
So you could squeeze in there. Functionally, each unit would have their garage in the closest space. So here you could queue cars here, and you'd have to coordinate with the other others. But if you had somebody come over, you could pull and block in the garage space in this space. But if there was somebody
Well,
that
people
was
on the inside
in the
could
unit,
probably do something, yeah.
could do that as well. For these spaces, I mean, you could tuck the car just behind what's labeled as space number 4. Spaces are 9 feet wide by 22 feet long.
18.
18 maybe, yeah. So you could, hang the front end over here onto the lawn and queue another, car here and not block anybody trying to pull out from the other units. So from a functional perspective, you could put, 3 to 4 more cars on the property. Presumably these people would have to speak to each other to coordinate that, but it's not totally unreasonable and or
You need to
uncommon.
stop fighting forever.
Yeah, certainly, this was reviewed by Deb Finnegan as well, so I think Deb looks at traffic, but she
They
looks
can
at
look at it all.
site circulation as
They
well.
can look at
you know.
everything, Council. It doesn't mean I agree with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question. I have a question.
Yeah.
On the right side, the neighbor on the right side where there's a 13-foot variance request as opposed to the 25-foot setback. Any objection by that neighbor on the right side?
This, on the driveway side, or?
Well, you have your side right. You're looking for,
Okay, so, yeah, so
No, this gentleman had appeared at the neighborhood meeting, you know, and his only question would what would be on that side, you know, with obvious concerns, you know, and it had already been proposed there'd be some, you know, fence as well as additional landscaping.
I'm
You know,
assuming
because as cars are pulling in here, you know, you certainly don't want that.
you mentioned that the variance is required because of the deck. So the deck's on the other side of that?
On the decks are on the front and the rear,
Okay.
so the buildings themselves meet the setback requirements,
Well, units
both
go
front
to
and
25
rear.
feet.
It's really just the raised decks.
Right. So the one that is going to be 13 feet from the line as opposed to 25 feet, you have to go to that side, right?
And so that would be,
See where the snow is going.
so the decks are on the front and rear predominantly of each unit, but they do wrap around
So
the
it's that
side
setback
stairs. So the side setback, and there's a section of the bylaw, 4.3.6.2, which allows for 15 feet for side setbacks for 4 to 16 units in this zoning district. And typically, decks like this would be exempt, as they only project 6 feet from the building. The portion of that doesn't make it exempt is that that's only for decks that are only 4 feet or less above average grade. These are quite high. These are 8 to 9s. These are more first story, and that's driven by the drive-under parking for the garages. So they don't project any further than typically allowed uncovered deck projection. It's merely that they're higher, up higher.
Any comments? Chris?
I kind of like this one. I was, looking at the neighborhood around it, there's many multifamily homes. The street's rather wide as opposed to some other streets in North Quincy. I think I'm voting in favor.
Yeah, a little bit concerned about the guest parking area. I'm not that optimistic about finding additional space on the lot, but other than that, I find the project is okay.
I think it's a nice looking project for the area, considering this is a damaged home, isn't it? It's existing then?
Yeah.
Correct.
Not be in favor of it.
Like I said the last time, I think we look at every project individually. I understand your concerns about the same lot size, 2 structures. I think this is a lot more consistent, even on the property. Atlantic Street's a nightmare for anybody who lives on it anyways. This side of it, the further up you get, is less of a nightmare.
Right.
I think that's the big issue. That's the big kicker. There's a large empty city-owned lot across the street. So I think based on the neighborhood, I think there's more parking than we consider based on that. So I'll be in favor.
Council, can we put a spot up in the top right? Where the snow, the other side of the snow, can you get one back there on the side of the building? No, yeah. Can you get 2 spots up
Do you want tandem?
No,
Side by
no,
side.
because it's a guest park is what it is. It's a guest, one guest spot you would have.
Or should say.
What about straight ahead then, Marty?
What? Anywhere you go, you're gonna block in the guy that owns the place.
Yeah.
But if you could get one more park, at least one spot on the end, I don't care if it goes right up to the fence.
Yeah, technically, relief for that is 0 feet, but, yeah.
And that's fine, we don't mind that. You can get a spot in there.
And Rob could probably address this.
I mean, you got-
Parking more than 5 feet close to the building is a problem.
Get 2, what do you got on this thing? If you can get 2 on this side, why can't you get 2 on the other side? You can get 2 down here, why can't you get them on the other side? What's in the way?
So code requires 5 feet off the building, and then
Not that, I ain't worried
3
about
feet
that.
off the property. We don't, even if we had it right at the end.
You got 2 spots down in the lower left. No. Yeah,
That's one spot.
That's one spot there.
There's one, and then 2.
There's 2
oh,
here.
who's over on that side?
Yeah.
What about extending that?
there. I mean, there is the possibility of using sort of a round stabilizing method to be able to put stacked funding. You know, we can use grass pavers to stabilize that grass, so it would remain lawn, it would be more pavement.
Wouldn't be a
but
bad
in
idea,
lieu of
on
additional
both
parking.
sides, on both sides.
So
That way there,
yeah,
at
you
least-
could stack and then stack two here, and that could be, and if
And this guy parks in front of his driveway, and that's no big deal.
So it's still pervious.
it's still pervious,
It's
it's
still
still grass,
pervious.
it's almost like a honeycomb plastic that.
So you'll do that on those
Tear.
two top rights, so you give them two
So here,
tandem
here, and
parking
here?
spaces? Right,
You
so
find
they know,
some
they
that
can pull in, if
stabilize
they're
it.
gonna need, if they got friends coming over, they can pull in at least, you got two spots, right? You can do that?
The objection to that.
Strictly overflow.
Hmm? You can do that?
I think that's something.
All right,
Yeah.
if you could put that in the decision, you're gonna have two tandem parking spaces on the back of the lot. Yeah, just make it very so they can just, if either one of those have someone coming, or if I got people coming, I can ask you, can you pull up so I can pull in front tonight, you only come in a couple hours?
Sure.
Just make it easier, we just hope they get along and get together, but, right? I'll be willing to, can you make that? We got two more spots here.
Mr. Chairman, map number 16-078. CPS Partners LLC for a variance finding acknowledge, the existing three-family residence and construct two duplex-sized residences on the premises number 97 Atlantic Street, Quincy. Make a motion to grant the variances with two additional tailored spaces, which would be on top of the pervious material.
In the back of the lot.
In the back of the
Second
lot.
it? Second. On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Thank you.
Thank you, happy holidays.
You too.
Thank you.